boy from the village
Yes.
to the streets of Dubai.
Exactly.
And you are sharing the story that from the village, and you ended up being a teacher
Exactly.
here in Dubai.
Exactly. And from my house, the world can be inspired. So
In life, we should be careful between waiting and wasting time.
exactly.
Now, how can you, assist someone to differentiate between the two, between wasting time and waiting upon God? How can I differentiate between the two? All right, welcome back, guys. You know how we do things, yeah? We just like to welcome you back to our channel at Marvik's Healthy Lifestyle. But before we start, because I know we're going to have an amazing conversation today, but I just want to remind you that please subscribe to our channel and do not forget to click on the notification bell so that you will be able to see everything that we do here on our channel. And as you've always been saying to us that you need more guests coming in, we've done exactly that. And today I have this amazing gentleman here next to me, but I do not want to spoil the bean, and I'm going to give him a chance to at least tell us who he is.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Elder, for having me on this platform. It's a place I've only just been dreaming just to be at. I've been watching you holding these kind of conversations, and I've only just felt that one day I should just take the seat on this podcast. So thank you, first of all, for welcoming me. So before you is Prof. My name is Prof.
Okay.
So Prof. Edwin Omari Mokaya. So who is Prof? Prof is a teacher, an author, a motivational speaker, and a mentor. So that's Prof for you. Let's stick here and find out more.
All right.
Yes.
So you are a motivational speaker as well.
Yes.
And also a mentor.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
You know, for someone sitting at home, maybe they're wondering, when it comes to mentorship, do they have to book you or anything like that? I just want that on before we move on to if someone is saying, you know what, I would love to, to be into your mentorship program. How does that work?
Okay, well, I know several people might want mentorship on different capacities.
Okay.
I know there are people who are interested in writing. There are people who just want at least to have their idea shared with me, or maybe if we can be able to exchange some of your ideas. So someone might feel like, well, I might need to meet this gentleman maybe for my son or for myself or something like that.
Okay.
You can always just get me on my phone number, which I'm gonna provide at the end of this conversation. We can always just meet and have some conversation when time allows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, guys, you've heard, if you are a writer and you're looking for some mentorship and you want to publish your own book, Prof is here, Edwin is here to give you all the information that you need. Yeah, whenever I am about to invite a guest, I've got a lot of friends. They will send some questions to say, you know what, please, for your guest, especially now that they know that I'm bringing an author.
Yes.
And I told them that you are an author who writes about inspirational books.
Yes.
And then we thought, you know what, guys, what should I ask Prof when he's here in studio? And this is one of the questions that I have for you.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
This question is also my favorite one.
Okay.
What inspired you to start writing about spiritual books? And how has, your journey evolved over the time?
Okay, thank you, Elder. This is a very great question, and actually it's a question that I've actually wished to talk about even before we proceed, and it's a question I could have answered otherwise, even if it was not to be part of this question. So whoever put forward this question, I really thank you, because it's a very great question. So first of all these books speak to me personally. So before they speak to the next person, I've always tried to listen to them In fact, I just want to tell you that all these books that you can see, or some I'm going to share with them, I've written them out of just the inner voice that keeps on speaking unto me, and they are more of a personal testimony. So every time I encounter something, either a situation or just reflect back on myself, then I tell myself, this is something that I think I might need to let the world know. And if I've been inspired by this kind of action, it might inspire somebody else. So a quick one, for example, let me just talk about, let's say, one of my books that says, Breaking Protocols by Faith. So in this world, there are what we call protocols. That for you, before you get to this point, you must pass through these, or you must have this before you achieve these.
All right.
So, but just staying in my life, I have seen situations whereby it has people taken the hand of God without the necessary protocols that human beings have put for me to get to where I've got to be at this point. So I've always just told myself, well, sometimes God can break protocols for you to be where you want to be.
Wow.
So I said, if this so inspires me, and if that's happened to me, maybe somebody might be doubting, maybe after waiting for quite some time, I feel this message needs to reach that somebody. So it's out of personal inspirations and what I've just gone through that I end up writing all these books.
Wow. You know, I love personal experiences because I believe that when it comes to personal experiences, they speak more volume as compared to something that you've heard from someone else.
Yes.
But if you are talking about your own personal experiences,
Yes.
it's easy to express
Yes.
because it's your own personal experience.
Yes.
Maybe, if you don't mind,
Yes.
if you can share at least one personal experience that you would love to share with the world today.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a long one.
Yes.
Anything nice and brief that comes into your mind that you have, included in one of your books.
Okay, thank you. So my books, as we'll be talking later, they carry different messages, but at the end of the day, to end up at motivating or encouraging somebody, reminding them that there's a reason as to why they need to keep on holding to what they're doing. Just keeping on the journey until they get to the finish line. So, but before that, actually, maybe I might never have that chance, maybe explaining about myself, where I've come from, what I've been able to do, what I've been able to accomplish, but just in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So I grew up without a father.
Okay.
At exactly just 7 years after I was born, my father died. And yeah, exactly. So, but after the death of my father, the situation became very worse. The situation was very worse actually, because all the houses in our compound were set ablaze by the perpetrators. But whoever did that, I'm yet to find out. So they set ablaze all houses in our place. My father was killed, and all my siblings, who were even as young as 3 men, were just left hanging there. And actually, my mother is partially blind. Actually, she cannot see clear up to this point. So everything that I had in this world went. So there was no hope for education, no home, no place to call home, no father. My mother is jobless. So everything was in limbo. So I just thought myself, like, now the case for me is gone. I just don't want to explain much. Maybe in some different podcasts we might have to share this. But for now, I'm here. We are having this podcast from UAE. I've been able to write. So I want to say, like, you might just look at yourself and maybe get to say, you might not, maybe you feel that there are some heights you cannot get because you don't have somebody to hold your hand. But breaking protocols, now I'm talking about that book, makes you feel like, indeed, if it comes, if it does to take breaking protocols, God can do it for you to get where He wants you to be.
Wow.
Thank you.
Guys, I don't know what to say, but firstly, I'd like to say, it's a sad situation that you had to go through, losing your father and all of that stuff, and losing your home in the midst of that. But what surprises me is that in spite of all these things, you are here.
Exactly.
You left your country, which is Kenya, and you are now here abroad, and you are working in this country, which is everybody's dream, actually.
Yes, exactly.
And you managed to rise above all that.
Yes.
Perhaps, how did you do it?
Thank you, thank you. That's a very great question. since I was young, actually, especially now that I talked about, especially after I lost my father, I just know that I had only two things to now look at. Believe in God and follow God, and also try to pursue, it could be serious with my education. I didn't need a lot of motivation apart from what already had happened, because I just realized, like, now without God and without me getting a proper education, there's nothing that's just going to happen. So I went to school. I went to my primary school, of course my local primary school. I passed well. I was called to very big national schools, but I couldn't make it because of what I was talking about, the situation at home. My mother could not make it, so I still went to local high schools back in the village, actually. Day schools, I could just go to school, walk back in the evening back home. In fact, I used to cover like 5 kilometers just one way, and 5 kilometers, so I used to cover 10 kilometers just walking in every day. So I used to wake up early in the morning, go to school, and you know those schools in Africa, they run up to about 6 in the evening. From 5 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. in the evening. So just traveling back. So I leave home when it's still dark, and then I come back home when it's still dark. So every day for the schooling time. So until now, after I did my Form 4, of course, I qualified and I was called to one of the best universities back in the country, Kenyatta University. So when I went there, now I used to pray and work hard in school. So I just got some actual well wishes. There's somebody, I'll always just keep on giving them gratitude. I'll express my gratitude. Somebody here, his name is Uncle Isaiah Morias. He just called me mysteriously from nowhere. He asked me, hey, Gemma, there's been so long. I think the last time I heard about your story is about 20 years ago. But it's just about the demise of your father and everything. How is it? Did you go to school? No, he was just trying to find out, because the last time he had that kind of story, maybe I was in grade 4 that time, so we just got to meet up later in life. So he told me, okay, just keep on working hard. I might just have some gift for you after you're done with the university. So I just went through school. Of course, it came up, he supported me through the many part of the university. But when I just finished that, of course, I just got some gigs back in the country before. He told me, now you've got to just come to this camp. So that's how I got to find myself here, through well wishes that God sent. So that's the story.
Yo, guys, I can listen to him the whole day, because his story, it's so inspiring. And I always ask myself, if we have people like Edwin, who can rise above such situation, what is your excuse out there not to fight for your life? Because I believe he made a decision that he wants to make it in life, and as he has explained very well, that he realized that without education and God, he cannot do anything. Let's move on, because time is not on our side. Amongst your 5 books, is there any book that holds a special place in your heart? And if there is, why?
Okay, thank you. I have written 5 books, actually. 5 books are currently out, and actually I have 5 more which are under production. Actually, the latest one that I have now to my whatever is entitled The End, was just about the beginning, but I just want to talk about that one later. But one of my favorite books that I just like among the already published copies is my autobiography. It is...
Do we have it amongst
We
these
got
books?
it here, just right here.
So
This one, yeah.
So guys, this is the book he's talking about right now.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
It's called The Bird from the Rocks.
The Bird from the Rocks.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And actually the main subtitle of the book is The Memoirs of a Village Boy, just to talk about myself. So for those who are just going to read this book, I know maybe some of you might want to get this copy. So actually even the design of the book itself, it shows a small plant growing out of the rocks. So I even over-talked about what should be the title of this book, because I want to talk about my story, what I've been through, and the far I've been able to get. Maybe the heights I've just been able to see, and the journey just behind that. So I have written an autobiography, the story, to talk about myself, the ups and downs through life, how the situation was, what was the situation, what happened, what has been inspiring me just to move this far. So for me to get this far, I just feel like that's really just taken the hand of God, and I've told myself I'm just gonna document that story. So if anybody just wanna listen to this story, how a village boy just moved from the village life just to this point, then they gotta get this book, The Bad from the Rocks. It talks about myself, and it keeps on reminding me where I've come from. And I believe even just later when I actually have a family, my kids should just look at the book and say, well, you really tried to put a fight to get us to this point.
Wow. You know, I wish you could emphasize this point that a boy from the village to the streets of Dubai.
Exactly.
And don't be shy about this. And I was reading your book because I was looking at it, and there are some good points here where you are sharing the story that from the village, and you ended up being a teacher here in Dubai, where this is a country of milk and honey, if I may put it that way. Every man wishes to be here. And you'll find that there are people who have all the qualifications in the world, but they fail to make it in this in this part of the world. But you've made it. And if you have to share, you know, many people around here, you know, they struggle to find, you know, purpose into their life. And what insights or practices do you recommend, you know, from your writings, for someone who really want to find their purpose in life? Because I believe you have found a purpose in your life. Writing 5 books. I'm still struggling with 1 book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good question. Like, how did it take for me to find purpose in life, and how can somebody just do to find their own? First of all, I'd just like to tell you that listen to your inner self. Just listen to yourself. I believe that sometimes even when you're asleep, there are very big things that you just keep on dreaming, but sometimes maybe the resources might not be able to help you to get to those points. But I like to tell that if you want to find purpose in life, try to listen to yourself. If at some point you just get to think, well, maybe I can start a school, maybe somewhere, maybe someplace, maybe what if I start maybe a school whereby I can maybe impart knowledge to the village or maybe to a society, something of the kind. But for example, maybe you are not a teacher yourself, maybe you don't have even the resources, even just bring up the structure in the first place, or you don't even just have the money to do everything. But as long as that idea just keeps on knocking at you, it might be your purpose. Try to listen to yourself.
Wow.
Yes. Number 2, you can always, you know, sometimes people might get to see something in you that you're not seeing. Sometimes people get to something in you that they are not seeing. So every time when I was in high school, especially, my peers, my friends, we just come on to you and say, Prof, I mean, we listen how you speak. We've seen what you do. We see how you behave. Man, you can be a great writer. You can be a great writer. And, you know, this, of course, I just didn't take this one for granted. I just said, man, if they're saying this, I mean, there could be some great purpose here. Then I just followed through that part from what my mind used to tell me. Then I just told myself, man, I can do this. Apart from being a teacher, I can write. And from my hands, the world can be inspired. So that is how I just got to find my purpose in life.
Wow. So you listen to that inner voice, and if I hear you correctly, you also alluded to the fact that some of the people, they used to say things to you. So in other words, they used to plant a certain seed into your life to say that there is something about you, the way you speak, the way you conduct yourself. And I believe that also helped you to find your main purpose, which is writing.
So just their advice, maybe the advice that I got from people, coupled by what I used just to think, just my inner mind, what my inner voice used to tell me every time I'm asleep, maybe just listening alone. I just keep on thinking alone. And the ideas that do cross my mind, I just try to see the much I can be able to contextualize them and just have them in real life. So that is how the whole thing just came about.
No, thank you so much. This is my also favorite question. You know, sometimes when I'm reading some books, you find that it sounds like a fairy tale. When you're reading this story, like, nah, this is just. Of course, I know there's a fiction, And but for you, you are not writing fiction,
Exactly.
but you are focusing on spiritual books.
Yes.
And which also touches on your personal life,
Exactly.
your personal experiences.
Exactly.
Now, how do you balance storytelling and with teaching spiritual truth in your books?
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, of course, both writing the spiritual books and teaching, they entail a very great research, of course. So number one, both my career, just me going to class and teach, and also just writing this, it takes research. You understand how we prepare lessons.
Yeah.
You have to sit down, maybe just find out more truth about the topic you want to go and teach. That's the same thing that I have to do before I just write every chapter of my book. So at least, in a way, they're a little bit related, so I'm able to. So I'm just used to sit down, dedicate some time, do some research on what I want to do. So first of all, because they are almost on the same line, it's all about research. So that one is a little bit better for me. And now, apart from that, like, how do I even have the time itself just to writing, and as well just go to school and maybe just do what I have to do? The good thing, I thank God, because God put me in a good profession, I could just say, because I have a lot of time that I have to myself. Working at school is a rewarding thing, because unless there are several holidays, there are half times, there are everything, and we don't stay in school the rest of the day. Actually, maybe by, let's say, 4 p.m. in the evening every single day, I'm free, maybe up to the time when I can maybe be able to relax. Not really free, but at least I have some time now to concentrate on this, not just concentrate on this. So every single moment I have away from school, I dedicated it in doing research and finding in what I can be able to tell the world through my books.
Okay, so I love this. So you are saying you are not just doing storytelling, but you go deeper into research. So in finding what is the truth.
Okay, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Let me just cut you short a little bit.
Yeah.
For example, this book here, Wait Upon the Lord, I could just give me 1 minute to say something small about this book.
Yeah.
One of the stories that I've given in this book, I've just tried to give people reasons as to why they need to be patient and patiently wait upon the Lord, keep praying, and hope that whatever that they're praying for or wishing for in this life, at some point they'll get it. One of the stories I've given here is about the story that comes from the book, where a man called Simeon was told that you shall never die until you hold or you see the Savior of the world. That's what happened, actually. But I just now went more into research just to find out, like, when was Simeon told these words, and how long did it take before actually seeing now the salvation of the world? Because whatever that we see just directly recorded maybe in the Bible is now Simeon holding the baby Jesus, or maybe just the Savior of the world in his sense, and saying, Lord, now let thy servant depart in peace. So I wanted just to go back. When was this said, and for how long did Simeon have to wait before this dream came true? So I just went back and found that Simeon was among the 20 young men who were used or participated in the translation of the original biblical context from Hebrew to Greek. So by this time, he was a young man, about 27 years old. But by this time, when he's seeing this, he was about 90, close to 100. So at this point, he's simply saying, God, now that I have seen what you promised me, let me go in peace. He was too old to die. So he waited to see this promise come true for over 70 years in his life. So it just doesn't matter like how long you're waiting. As long as God says, I'm just going to do this for you, or he has ever given some promises to you and you believe that this thing is going to happen, just keep on waiting. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. As long as you have resolve in God, it's going to come to your rescue someday.
Wow, I love that.
Yes.
We wait on God.
Yes.
I saw something. I love motivation and motivational speakers when they speak. And I listened to a guy by Jim Rohn, Les Brown, and the likes. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Les Brown who said, in life, we should be careful between waiting and wasting time.
Exactly.
Now, how can you, assist someone to differentiate between the two, between wasting time and waiting upon God. How can I differentiate between the two?
Okay. Number one, actually, that's a very good question. Sometimes somebody might be wasting time on something and somebody might be truly waiting for something. Most of the time, it's actually wait upon the Lord, but not wait for maybe for somebody. Just wait upon the Lord. Sometimes when we pray and ask God to do something in our lives, after that, of course, we can have what we call instincts, and God can just tell you, man, after you pray for something, or maybe just wanna achieve something. Of course, before you achieve something, there will be blue marks or blueprints or something of the kind. So, for example, let's say you believe that at some point, maybe you are going to be a landlord or something like of the kind. But before that, you should maybe at least be making some money. Maybe you should just be making some living, at least some living. So, what I want to say is, God will always give you blueprints to your wedding. It is never that way, because even, for example, Simeon himself, he was well positioned to meet God's promises because he was in charge at the wedding at that particular point. So God always gives blueprints, or at least instinct, to tell you that this is indeed a reason just to wait. Actually, let me tell you something. If something is time wasting, God will actually just speak to you through instinct and just you let know, like, okay, this could be time wasted. But God promises something, I know it will just give you the right instinct that this thing is just going to happen. So just keep on the track. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
I love that because there's a lot that happens when people just say, I'm just going to wait.
Yes.
And they believe that it's just going to be miracles.
Yes.
And again, you spoke about blueprint.
Yes.
And for me, when you speak about blueprint, what comes into my mind is that, okay, there's a planning involved here. As I'm waiting, God is giving me some plans on how can I reach into my goals. Because if you want to reach into a certain goal, there's got to be a plan involved. Otherwise, you will just be folding your arms and saying, I'm just waiting on
And actually, let me add one statement, actually, at least to help people, because people might just feel like, well, maybe they need just to sleep, God wanna just to do something. Actually, there's a statement that I just want to make, and maybe I really just want people to remember me for that a prayer does not substitute action.
Okay.
So if there's something that you can do literally, you gotta do it. If something needs your action, you gotta do it. And if something needs exactly God's intervention, that's when God just comes in.
Wow.
So for example, let's say maybe we just hear some fire alarm that this building is burning down.
Yeah.
We cannot pray
and say we're gonna wait on the Lord.
We gotta take some action.
Yeah.
So while praying and waiting upon the Lord, we must know that prayer does not substitute action. If you gotta do something, do it. If you gotta pray, if this particular context, you gotta pray. If you gotta take some action, take it. So we should always have this differentiation. That one can make us safe while waiting upon the Lord.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, you've heard the man himself. Prayer does not substitute what? Actions. All right. We're going to take a All right, welcome back, guys. We just went for a short ad break and we are getting back on fire. Are you good, sir?
I'm doing well.
Okay,
yes.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Yes.
You're doing good.
Yes.
So, guys, before we went on break, he spoke about something interesting that prayer does not substitute what? Action. So when you're waiting on the Lord, they've got to be a part that you've got to do yourself as well.
Yes.
Yeah, just another quick one, Prof.
Yes.
Have you ever faced any resistance while trying to share your spiritual message? I don't want you to be too specific.
Yes.
Perhaps maybe here or rather home. Have you ever, faced any resistance or challenges while trying to share your spiritual message with other people, and how did you overcome that?
I could say that I haven't really just faced much challenges, but up to this point, I know there are, especially for my workmates, let's say for my colleagues, they know me as a teacher. Now they see this is actually what they see every single day, because just the writings, all this happen just behind the scenes most of the time. So sometimes maybe sitting, maybe colleagues down just to explain to them like this is what I also just do. Sometimes it might be that challenging because that kind of conversation might not flow that easily. So that's what I could just call maybe just a little bit of a challenge, like just trying to now change quickly from being a teacher and now just being to a motivational maybe writer, just trying to maybe just tell somebody if they could just take a copy for me. But maybe I'm so happy that at least through this podcast, maybe some might get just to know the other part of me that they have not been knowing. So for my students, I know wherever they are, they know this is their teacher. And of course, now for the rest of us who are just gonna listen to this podcast and just know, well, there's literally still a lot that happens behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Because I know that when it comes to spiritual message, I believe that it's also very important that we do not impose what we believe into other people. Perhaps is to allow people to have a freedom of choice, and I think when someone read your book, then that's where they can say, you know what, this is so inspiring. I will love this. But again, can you at least share a moment, when something you wrote deeply impacted a reader, and how that affected you as an author? Perhaps maybe you've heard someone saying, you know what, Prof, I was reading your book and this really touched me. Have you ever had such feedback before?
Okay, thank you so
much.
much.
And how did that feedback affect you as an author?
Okay, thank you so much. I think 2 months ago, I was in Dubai. I told you maybe just I do make a lot of trips from LA to Dubai of late. So there's a time I went, actually the day I went to do that, the previous podcast I was doing with those guys in Dubai, the first one that you saw. So I went there and I found some guys, of course they were from my country. They were trying to have like a birthday celebration for one of their colleagues. And then I was having all my applications actually. And then there was one of my books, actually I didn't just carry it here, I think I just left it home. It says The Full Race of Faith. The Full Race of Faith. And then I was just trying to share the books like this, and just one guy just grabbed one of my copies and just read on the preface. After reading it, then he just came to me on that exact moment. Then he just told me his story and his encounter here in Dubai. That guy, I think I've never met him again, but I know God must have revisited him and just had some blessing on him. He has been here for like 1 year, and he has always been on visit visas all those time, and he has never gotten a job. He's just been trying. He never gets a job. He renews, tries, never gets a job. He renews, tries, never gets a job. And he was still on the move, just believing that maybe I just gonna keep on just doing this.
That God is
so the book, one of that book, The Full Race of Faith, it says only the finish line matters. If you don't get to the finish line, it doesn't matter. Even if you died along the way, nobody might just talk about it. I've even just seen great marathoners. Actually, the moment they don't get to the finish line, we even don't talk about it. I didn't just want to be specific, but I come from a country where we have marathoners. And we have great men and women who do run races in my country. And they are renowned all over the world. But on the days when actually they don't get to the finish line, maybe to end up with the podium, nobody talks about it. Nobody even just talks about like, okay, well, this guy is now maybe in a position, maybe he didn't even finish in the first place, but he's always number one. Nobody even just talks about it. Only the finish line matters. It doesn't matter how many times you try, if you still don't win. Nobody just going to say like, well, like at least you participate or you try to do this. So the intention in everything that you try to do, to the best of your ability, complete it. Get to the finish line of that thing.
Wow.
Only the finish line matters. If you don't get to the cross line, or if you don't get to the finish line, then your story ends and you could have wasted yourself a lot of resources just trying to do the move around. So we're just trying to tell, so this guy, I was just trying to tell him, right? You've really done a lot. You've really fought. You've really done the very best that you could do. You've exhausted everything you could do. But you know what, bro? If you don't still get to the finish line, nobody would even just know that you suffered this in the body. Then that guy cried and told me, I'm not giving up. I'm still on the journey. Then he continued.
Wow.
I felt like this guy's been charged, and I told myself, I'll keep on doing this work.
Wow.
And I just left it in the book, actually.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
You know, it's only the finish line that matters.
Yes.
I was so inspired when he was mentioning that in Kenya.
Yes.
There are a lot of runners there.
Yes.
By the way, I'm an adopted Kenyan.
Exactly.
So yeah. I love Kenyan. One of my favorite runners there is Kipchoge Eliud.
I want to talk about it. Thank you for because you mentioned it.
So he's one of my favorites,
Yes.
and of course the other guys, but he's one of my favorite guys.
Yes.
And yeah, I love this quote. Only the finish line matters. I'm a runner myself,
Exactly.
And I know how it is. Sometimes you get so tired and all of those things, but the moment you reach that finish line, it feels so good.
Exactly.
When you cross it, it's like, wow, I've made it.
Exactly.
Okay, just few more questions before we wrap up. Now, how do you ensure that your message at least resonates across different faiths?
Okay.
Because as I've mentioned before, it's very easy to get carried away in faith.
Yes.
So how do you ensure that it resonates with almost everyone?
Actually, that's good. That's a good question. My books can be read by everybody at any age from any faith.
Okay.
So, in as much as I try to use the biblical context in explaining my stories, at the end of the day, when you get to the end of every chapter, there is always a message to take home for you. Okay. So, in as much as, for example, actually all these stories actually have been inspired from the Bible, because literally, for example, if you read the book of Corinthians, Paul talks about races. Actually, literally, he says that don't you know that in races so many people participate, but only one gets the prize.
Yeah.
And before they get this prize, they really justify themselves. They really practice a lot for these.
Yeah.
And he ends up saying that for them they do this to get perishable rewards, but for us, for maybe an everlasting gift or something like that. So, in as much as there may be stories that run from the Bible, there is always a touch that I will just give you. There's always just a personal touch. How the stories touch with me and from research. So that what makes the book readable to anybody of any age, from whichever the background and race and religion. They can just be read by everybody. Because at the end of the day, I use different contexts to give people the motivation that they need in life. I always tell people that you really don't have to give up no matter what happens to you. And even in the darkest moment, just believe that God is preparing something great for you. So in any moment when you just feel like, man, you just want to stop holding on, when you just feel like this is too dark, when you feel this is a very steep mountain I cannot climb, just know that there's maybe one person who can just enable you finish up everything peacefully. So the message resonates well with everybody, and maybe you can just find that one when you get a copy, go through it, and then you just come back to give this testimony.
Okay, please guys, get a copy for yourself.
Yes.
And he, as he said, this book is for everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I've got two more questions for you before we wrap up.
Yes.
In today's fast-paced world, how can you, how can someone begin, their spiritual journey with intention?
Okay.
Like, let's say now people will be watching us and they are saying to themselves, I want to be like Edwin.
Yes.
and I want to be like Coach Becky. I want to be like these two guys.
Yes.
How can they begin their spiritual journey
Yes.
with intention? Because I believe that intentionality is king
Yes.
in everything that you do. Because if there is no intention,
Yes.
you might as well just forget about what you are trying to do.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what would be your word of advice for someone who wants to, in this fast-paced world?
Yes.
People are busy.
Yes, they have jobs to attend to, they have things to do, and maybe they don't have the time. So this is what I would like to say. Let me tell you that, in fact,
Yeah, talk to them directly.
no,
Yeah.
let me just talk to somebody who might be
Yeah.
listening, and maybe how can they really start their journey with God, maybe if just in their busy schedule. So let me tell you something. You might be suffering, you might be going through something, or you might be going through a certain situation, but until you make God your friend, that situation might still remain being the way it is. So in this world, actually, we were created and just made in a way that we really need God just to maybe aid some things. There are some situations that even just God watches us going through them, and He says, man, why hasn't He asked it yet? Because the Bible says you have because you have asked it now, or maybe you don't know how to ask for. I want to tell you that it doesn't matter. Maybe you might feel comfortable at the moment. You might feel like, well, I got everything that I might be needing or something like that. But I want to tell you, maybe more could be coming if you could be having a personal relationship with God. So when you talk to God, when you involve God in what you do, even if you might already be blessed, more blessings are on the way. So why should you lock out blessings just because you have not really established that friendship with God? So there are some things that actually do happen to the people who do ask God to do those things to them. So remember, like there's a guy we do read in the Bible who was blind, and even Jesus himself just kept on asking this guy, what do you want me to do for you? And people were wondering, can't you see this guy is blind? The concept there was, he hasn't asked, he hasn't said. Actually, God does things when you ask him to do. Okay. So the moment you just create this relationship with him, more is waiting on your way. And maybe there's something you are yet to achieve simply because you don't have a personal relationship with God. So ask yourself, what am I missing? And after you find the answer, then know this is the moment to start a personal relationship with God, for you to get to unlock some of the unlocked maybe privileges that just comes with people who are friends with God.
Wow. All right, guys, as you have said, we've got to be friends with God. We've got to be friends with the one who made us.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming over.
Yes.
But if I did not ask you this question,
yes,
I will not have done justice.
Yes.
Please tell us. Maybe just mention, I know you've written 5 books.
Yes.
And I can see here we have 4 books.
Yes.
If you can just tell us how many books, the titles of these books.
Yes.
And then lastly, what is next for you? Are you busy with any other new ideas? Is there any book coming up?
Okay.
But first, just mention about these 5 books.
Okay.
You don't have to go too deep because of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I already have published copies, and I already have them here with me.
Okay.
And you can already just get them. They are available online on Amazon, or you can just get them from me. If you are here in Dubai, if you're in Kenya, you can just order them just directly from me. And just
Even in South Africa, right?
Oh, okay, in South Africa. If somebody's in South Africa, they can always order from Amazon. Amazon can just deliver within a week to wherever you are, the rest of the world. So you just go to on Amazon.com, just type in just my name, Prof. Mokaya Omari Edwin. Just my name.
Please say that again, slowly.
Okay. Yes, just go to Amazon and Amazon.com. Just write on my name on the search bar, Prof. Mokaya Omari Edwin. All my 5 books will pop up. So one of the books that you're likely to see is The Bird from the Rocks, Man, autobiography. The other one that you're likely to see is Breaking Protocols by Faith. You're gonna see that one. Another one that you're likely to see is Wait Upon the Lord, It Will Happen. Another one that will just pop up is The Full Race of Faith. And another one that you'll see live is Man's Extremity is God's opportunity. I didn't talk about that one, but we'll just talk about one later.
Okay.
And then now currently, I'm even just writing actually about 5 more titles actually. Recently, if you saw from my status, there's another one I just finished. It says, the end was just the beginning.
Wow. The end is just the beginning.
The end is just the beginning. When you just get like, you feel like you just got to the end and you know, that is just for the beginning. Don't kill yourself.
Wow.
Don't harm yourself. That is just for the beginning.
Please talk to them. Talk to them. Tell them that
say
the
something.
end,
Sometimes, especially with God, the end is not the end. The end is just but the beginning. Actually, I've just borrowed that kind of knowledge from what I read, what was happening on a Friday evening when Jesus was put on the cross, and the glory that came 3 days later on Sunday morning. So I know there's some people who even hang themselves. An example is Judas. He hung himself because he didn't see any hope, because he had betrayed somebody who was not supposed to have betrayed him. So he didn't see any hope. That was the end for him. But he didn't know he was going to meet the same man 3 days later. So the end is not exactly the end. The end, sometimes the end is just right by the beginning. Even if you just feel that you just go to the end, that could be just by the beginning. Another one that I've just written is called It Is Just a Replay. It's just a replay.
It's just a replay.
It's just a replay. Let me tell you, Elder.
Yeah.
Even if you get sick and stay in hospital, it's just a replay. It's already just happened to people in the past, and of course they got back to their feet again. Even if you just see people gossiping about you, just trying to bring you down, I mean, it is just a replay. It's just gonna end. Let me ask you something small. Let me ask you something small. When you are watching a match, let me ask you, you're watching a match.
Yeah.
And maybe your team, maybe the team that you're supporting, maybe concedes 3-0 in the first half.
Yeah.
You might even just get discouraged and maybe switch off the TV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then maybe the second half, maybe your team comes from behind and scores 4 more goals now to be on the lead just to end that game, right?
Yeah.
So when you're watching that match for the very first time, the first part of that match can discourage you. But now assuming you're watching that match on a replay. So even when you conceded 3 goals,
you're okay.
I'm okay. You're just relax. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you understand the script, when God has enabled you to understand the script, you understand that it's just a replay. You know, if somebody asks you, maybe, but we are almost losing. It's just a replay. That's a different. In the second, in the second half, it's just going to be fine. So when you go through temptations, it is just a replay. When people are accusing you falsely, you're not the very first one. It's just it's just gonna end well. Just don't be worried. That's just a replay.
It's just a replay.
When everybody else is worried, like why are you going through trouble but you're still smiling? Just tell them, I know.
It's just a replay.
It's just a replay.
Guys,
it's just a replay. It's just a replay. You know?
Can you agree with me that we need to bring him back? We need to bring him back so that we can have more time where he can talk about more of his books.
Yes.
I believe that this guy, he's here on purpose, and he's living his purpose, and the things that he's writing about, they are so inspiring. And please guys, I've been reading this book and I am so inspired about his life. You know, please try to get yourself a copy. It will change your life. It will change your life. And thank you so much, Edwin Omari, Mokai, Prof, for this. We really appreciate you here at Marvik's Health Lifestyle. Here we talk about everything about health. And we do believe that spirituality is part of your health. Because if you're lacking spirituality, your health will also suffer. So for someone who's like asking, but coach, why are you bringing someone who's speaking about spirituality? Because spirituality is part of your health. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming. And you did not share, or you would like to share your number with them, where they can be able to get you, or we can share it on the.
Maybe we'll change. Maybe when we edit, we can just write the number.
All right. So guys, it will be there on the description below. And once again, thank you so much. We shall meet again. Promise me that you will come again.
Anytime you call me, I'm gonna show up. I just didn't mention all the copies, maybe all the works that are underway.
Okay.
By the time we come next time, maybe we want to have a pile of books I've just
So maybe I don't have the space yet.
we are not going to have a space to place them because I'm actually right now. No. Thank you so much.
The man is busy.
Thank
the
you
man
so
is
much.
busy.
Thank you so
and
much.
please, guys, do not forget to subscribe and also click the notification button.
Yes.
So that you can have more and more and more of what we are doing here. And we need your support. And please share on the share with your friend, and please comment and tell us what you think of today's podcast. Thank you. I am